Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Town of Ankrum March 12th Planning Board meeting, which was rescheduled from the 5th. Call to order
Joe Greco,
here.
Tom Rondola,
Here.
Bill Hack,
Here.
Art Cash,
Here.
Aaron Robinson, Robert Irving, Jeff Lovely.
Okay, so like I said, we have a quorum. Correspondence. We've received some. I think it'll be discussed with each application at this point. First application, conflict check. Anybody have a conflict with the items on the agenda? Seeing, hearing, no one. We will move on. New business. Valden Pandolfi Zuckerman. Please come forward and explain your,
Well, it's everyone. Sometimes I've shown up at 7:30 thinking that meeting.
we used to be, we moved it 10 years ago.
Seems like yesterday, so this is part of the old Lampman farm, which some of you were on for a subdivision. It also has a Columbia County conservancy easement on it. Nick and Matt, Nick Pandolfi and Matthew Zuckerman were in and came in and got a site plan approval from you within the last year to build the house. The next door neighbor is the Valden farm, and as you remember, we did a subdivision of the Valden farm, and Dennis Leckwick built that house there. Nicholas Pandolfi and Matthew Zuckerman would like to buy a little piece of that farm to give them some protection. It's all wooded area, but what they're concerned about is building a house and then perhaps another house gets built a little too close. So they discussed that with Keith Valden, and came up with this 4-acre proposal, which they feel gives them some protection. So the 4 acres will be added to the existing 32.37 acres. And it is a lot line alteration, so we're starting with 2 parcels, ending with 2. One's getting smaller, one's getting bigger. The 32.37 will turn into 36.37. And the Valden farm will shrink down to approximately 161 acres.
It's this piece of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that will be added to this.
That's not the footprint of the house they're building, is it?
They got a little. What's that?
That's not the footprint of the house they're building, is it?
Yes. Yep. Very
Okay.
small. Here.
Pretty small?
Over here.
Okay. Look like a trailer.
Over here. Yes.
Just, what does that say? I'm just curious.
That says OWTS on-site water treatment area. That's what they call when the septic now, they don't call it SDS.
Leak field or something. Yeah.
But that's where it was approved
Okay,
to put the sanitary, so we.
okay. I don't know. I don't have any concern.
It's pretty fucking dry,
Yeah. Nothing. Everybody's in agreement, so there should be no issues.
Like that.
Everybody's in agreement, so there should be no.
Yeah. Make a motion to do.
Declare complete first.
Is it complete?
Is there any, we ask the public if there's anybody here? Okay.
Looks like it is.
I go over those checklists many times now.
All right, can I get a motion to approve?
Complete.
We did that. Did we declare the application complete?
More voting.
You said it should be complete, it should be declared, make a motion to declare the application complete.
Yes, second,
Also.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Motion to approve,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You're done.
So to move things along, I got 6 stamped signed copies. If I leave those stamped signed copies, you could sign them after the meeting, and then I'll come to Sarah and cut her a check.
Are they raised seal?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get it done for you. Just,
Does that make sense? We don't have to do it.
yeah, we're running late already, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Have a great night.
All right, moving on, the second app of new business. Sky High Farm. Guys, here's one from God. So,
They don't.
I'm pretty sure you wrote me a check already.
Oh, for the blue, yes, I probably did.
Yeah, when you submitted the application, you wrote,
Okay, so that was the only one that there was not a final with one.
there,
Alright.
done, paid, what do you need?
I like that.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
okay, who's representing? What's?
So my name is Josh. We're the co-directors of Sky High Farm. I was hoping in the interest of time, I'll just say a few words about who we are. And then Ryan from.
Okay.
So to present the project. Can you step that to the right? Thanks. Sky High Farm is a nonprofit organization. We were established in Riverdale in 2012. We operate a farm. We're still in Riverdale today. In 2023, we had the privilege of purchasing a Sigler farm. That's the subject of subdivision request for you tonight. We're a mixed vegetable and livestock farm. 100% of what we grow and produce is donated into the urgent food system. We work primarily in Dutchess and Columbia counties. Many of the people who live in this region receive food that comes from our farm, including Neighbors Helping Neighbors in Ancramdale and Willow Roots in Pine Plains, Northeast Community Center in Millerton. All of our farming practices are ecologically focused, and we are driven entirely by care for the land. We're committed to keeping the entirety of the Sigler farm in agricultural use. And we were excited to have cattle back on the land for the first time, I think, since 1999, last year. This subdivision request is a recognition that we're amid a housing crisis. I know the Ancram Planning Board and Town Board acknowledge that. When we purchased the property, inherited 2 homes that are on the property. They're the subjects of the subdivision before you today. The residents in each of those respective homes have lived there for many, many years. They have made their homes, Ancram, the town of Ancram. It's our hope to ensure that they can continue to live here for as long as they would like. The remainder of the property, we're committed to keeping in agriculture. We're in a slow, steady process of research, and our goal is to continue improving the land through our farming and conservation practices.
I didn't get the reason for why you're doing this, though. Why are you subdividing this off the farm?
We would like to give the properties to the families that have been living there for the last 15, 20.
Give the property.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, all right. All right. Go ahead. Let's get to the engineering, because I'm not seeing this.
Ryan Loss with Crawford and Associates Engineering. So the existing parcel, parent parcel is 73 3/4 acres, and what we've created, proposed are 3 acre or 3 properties. One is a 1/2 acre, 3/4 of an acre, and then the balance, the 72.5 acres. So each of the lots would comply with bulk regulations of the town of Ancram, allowing for the residents to be included and not conflict with any side yard, front yard, or rear yard setbacks. The reason one is slightly larger is to accommodate the infrastructure that's already there. There's no current proposed changes to the lot. This gives the ability to these residences to continue to live how they normally would, but then they have the ability to actually own the land that their home is on. As the owner said, they're not planning on taking that away from them and they're going to be giving them the property. So that's the reason. They just want to give these individuals the ability to own their property. So it's no longer part of the farm.
Are these properties code compliant, these houses, everything's, permitted and,
I would, I don't know how old the homes are, but they've been around for a long time, so. I mean, from a bulk regulation, they're compliant with bulk regulations, yes.
Yeah, with zoning. I mean, it's an average lot of 3.5 acres, but I see other issues with this situation that I'm just not happy with. These are mobile homes. They could be pulled away at any minute. And now I've got very small lots that we don't know. I don't know if they'll get through a health department approval. We have approximate leach field. I don't think this is not a municipal well. I don't even think that's legal. That you got 3 properties sharing a well. I just, that's an issue. The well goes bad, there's gonna be battles about who's gonna drill the new one and where we're gonna drill it. This is just, I think this has to go to the health department for their review. I'm sorry, I don't know where the septics are. Mobile home could be towed away, they could sell this property and somebody will be back in front of us saying, we want to build a new house here.
So for the comment of the health department, what would we be asking the health department for? They wouldn't be permitting anything here because it's.
I think you have to go through this as a subdivision, that they have to do test pits and
Well,
perk tests, and you're gonna have to find a well on each property. I want their comment on whether this well is permissible. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know.
Wanted, get review comments from George Schmidt.
Yeah, sure, we can review it, then we gotta set up an escrow.
That might help me.
Yeah, like I said, I see issues. I don't know if my fellow board members see issues, but we got 2 very small lots. It's very hard to get a well and a septic on a half acre if everything's perfect. And they're mobile homes, like I said, they could be gone tomorrow. You're giving it to these people, they could see a windfall profit, sell it the next day. And
In the contract, we'll stipulate that the farm will have the first right of refusal on.
the lots are still created. And they're there forever. And there may be health department issues with them. So I think our attorney is right. I think we should send it to our engineer for their review and comment. And I've never come across a situation. We're creating lots around mobile homes. I haven't run across that in my career. So that's my feeling. And if they weren't so small, I wouldn't be so concerned. But, approximate leach field. Okay, what is it? Is it fields? Is this cesspool? What is it? And these are lots. These are
old,
Yeah.
Well,
bathrooms, how many
the
bedrooms?
septic is existing and complies with.
You're not getting what I'm understanding. We're creating lots here. These lots are here forever. These are mobile homes. They could be gone tomorrow with a truck. Poof, gone. Somebody comes and sells it and no one wants to build a new house here. I don't know if these are gonna pass health department approval for a new well and a new septic system. They could be all rock for all I know. So, I think we have to refer to our engineer. We're gonna have to set up an escrow fund.
Let's ask you questions.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Is there any reason that's so small? 175 and 5 instead of an acre, which gives them the possibility of having.
But that would take away from the farm bill, for the farming use around that farm around them, around the properties and things like that. Right?
Yeah, I think the usage of the farm in totality is for farm purposes. 2,000, so it's one section. We'll use that section and
And
they'll
not-
continue our.
And not anymore. The rest of it, if you went up to an acre each, would make it a real size. I'm just sort of putting that out there.
Yeah.
I know I live on an acre and it's enough to get a well and a.
I think it's a reasonable question. I'll just point out that, these houses are adjacent to a corner property that we don't own. So the direction of the expansion would be limited by, in this case, existing farm buildings. There's a,
No, we're not.
no, not new buildings, existing.
No, they're existing.
Existing agricultural.
They're
structures.
restricted by a driveway. Maybe it's just not intended to be. These were mobile homes put here for whatever reason. Creating lots around them that can't comply in the future is a real concern.
What's the address?
Can't apply with what respect. They
You-
comply with. both
Are you
regulations.
listening to me? They're mobile homes. They can sell those lots once the ownership is turned over. The mobile home could be gone and somebody's gonna come to us with a application to build a house there. Now we're forced into another situation if the septic doesn't work and the well doesn't work. We approve these lots. So you have to understand, I'm not making this up. There's a real concern here.
You gotta do some research and you gotta send it to the right people. Let us ask some questions and, and then we can better answer the request.
If they don't have a problem with it, then I'll put my tail between my legs and go back in my corner, but I don't see them not having a problem. These are really small lots.
One question I had, I did ask it before, I thought in the ag district was at 2 acre minimum. For a subdivision.
Our understanding of it is happening.
Half acre as long as you comply with the 3.5 average.
Okay. Well, so
Approximate subdivision.
it's AHBR.
Those numbers.
Oh, just plain that. That's it, that's it. That's it. Design standards for on-site roads and roads. Which one? You're bad on that. What's up?
Yeah.
They have a private residence that's not part of it, moment. That's right. And so then you have to step that on part of. Rental villages.
This is just a buffer. This is the property that obtained.
This is the second part. So this one. This is it. One, so. Yeah. And for value share by these two.
No, this is on the block, they currently full block of funding.
Oh, so these guys are.
Well, it's a need for a while, if it's here, that.
So they're on.
They're well,
They
they
share
share.
it. Right. What will be on the, which property will be on that? So they-
It'll be on farms, but we would issue. Which is essentially what's happening.
Okay, guys, we got a long agenda. Do you want to set up an escrow fund for the engineer and Nan to look at it? Okay. 2,500. Okay, so you get a motion to set up an escrow fund for,
Oh, put out a motion for an escrow fund for engineering for side high farm for $2,500.
and planning.
Oh, and thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you gotta see Sarah, do the paperwork, get her a check. As soon as we have the money, we'll send it out to the consultants and we'll let you know.
Okay, is there additional information that we can provide?
You can, but there's small lots. We don't know much about the systems. Like I said, they could be anything. They could be a hole in the ground.
this point, it probably is going to be more efficient if you wait to get the comments from the consultants, and then if the more information needed, they'll probably specify that for you, and that's how you can target your efforts toward that speed.
Yeah, and the water, if you, unless you set some municipal well thing up, that, you know, one owner can contaminate the well for somebody, it's not a good situation, the well, for sure. Okay,
So for the applicants, the consultant of the board is, they get Will Schmidt from the firm of CPL, and the family is Nan Stoltenberg from Community Planning and Environmental Resources.
okay,
We can't waive something that's by the law.
you can't waive health department.
Yeah, I got the law.
Yeah, and I mean, you share my concerns, I assume.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
I mean, just,
sometimes I speak a little out of, but, you know, we can't, I don't want to be creating all these substandard lots that are, you know, would have people. Yeah, yeah, and if it was a, you know, brick and mortar thing, it's not likely to disappear as fast as a trailer.
it was a gas station, it's just that it wasn't. Water.
Yeah, the water thing is a concern. I mean, if the well goes bad, now you're gonna have a battle. So, okay, moving on to old business. Homeland Towers.
Welcome back. Again, for the record, I'm David Kenny, and Snyder here tonight to represent the Towers and Verizon Wireless. We've had a few meetings on Secra, so there really isn't anything left for the applicant. I did have an update. We had a lot of focus on these 7 trees that need to be removed, and that's kind of some of the motivation to really push to get this application for this Secra kind of approval before April 1st. Speaking my client, the contractor and project manager, there may be a way to do substantial construction without removing the trees. So there no longer is this need to rush for that April 1st to at least get the tree removal. So that at least gives a little bit of breathing from now. We do appreciate the effort to put on the special meetings. It is still a much harder construction. It's more costly to my client to do it this way. It's going to make it harder to bid out, but they're willing to take on those costs to provide the additional time and a little bit of a pressure relief valve on that motivation to get to the April 1st. But other than that, I'm here tonight to answer any questions the board may have, as well as any questions.
John, do you want to bring us up to snuff where we are on our end?
As you know, we had a vote at the last meeting. And so our firm, Grant and Lyons, was directed to draft a resolution to adopt negative declaration process of drafting that. If we do end up setting a special, our goal is to have that resolution ready for the vote at special meeting or at the regular meeting.
Looks like we're looking at the 18th right now, but
The 24th.
And that's.
24th would be better. I think we're gonna have to.
Next one, yeah. One more. Yeah.
So I think we're gonna have to poll the rest of the board because Tom, you can't make it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so. Yeah,
Can't make the 18th.
he can make the 18th. We know well,
We don't know if anybody else.
yeah,
Oh, shoot.
I'll send you a reminder.
Sorry.
What?
Again, we do appreciate the motivation for a meeting based on the information provided. I would like to say on the record, line with, the secret discussion, including or taking place on April 2nd. That would work great for us. The April 2nd, great.
I know, and
That is the one meeting.
I try to keep cell and solar on separate meetings because they're never ending if I don't.
Yeah, I know. Well, we don't know whether income PV is gonna be on. So I think that when's the subdivision deadline?
Yeah.
Because as far as I know, right now, we don't have the landscape architect's report yet or plan yet. And 23rd. And the applicant did represent that they're the applicant. Represent that. Whether they're gonna submit that. I'm not sure if make their submission on those.
So if then I guess we'll stick with April 2nd as the next meeting.
Okay.
So be it.
And depending on how much material comes in, you don't have to put income PV on for the second that they submit. So you're gonna want comment, you're gonna want to take whatever's submitted and send it out to George and Nan, and you're gonna want comments back
Right.
for the meeting. So,
Okay.
okay, April 2nd, when we'll have our plan for the resolution is to draft a resolution. It'll be circulated to the board members so you all can read it before the meeting. And so get drafts and finalized, we'll get that draft to Sarah so that it can be put on the town website in advance. That'll also spare us from having to read the entire resolution on the date of the meeting.
I'll vote for the solar and the tower into the public still at that point.
Nothing's closed.
Yeah, nothing's closed. Yeah, and remember, your site plan also follow the towers.
Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
So I guess we will open it up to the public. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
I have a comment on the cityscape letter. I'm not sure if that's that for.
Sure, sure.
Before we open up, there was a letter from cityscape that came in March 11th. I just wanted to point one thing out that they want to look at it then, how they word it. And on page 3. You have cityscape on? But I.
Yeah, cityscape should be on. Are they on? Yeah.
I'm sorry, do we have cityscape on?
Mike just got.
Oh. Unfortunately, I got this today. I really haven't had time to.
Yeah, I just read
I didn't even skim through it. It's pretty lengthy.
Yeah. I borrowed one here, but go now. I think we need that one, actually. This one? That one working? Okay, we're good.
One of them.
It can buy some batteries.
Okay.
Tell Colleen to put some money in the budget for batteries.
Got that.
Okay.
You can just see if anyone from Cityscape is on.
Anthony is on, and Elizabeth Smith, is she also? Yeah.
Okay, so this is on page.
Here we go.
Hi,
Uh,
yeah, also Ben Evans, who's our engineer, he's also on.
Okay, this is a comment on page 3.
you start out by quoting that the primary objective for this project is to provide coverage throughout the town of Ankrum. More specifically, site Route 23, Route 22 north and south of that pond. My concern is in that first line, they talk about throughout the town of Ankrum, and we know that this is not providing service throughout the town of Ankrum. It's actually fairly limited. And then later on page 4, in the Boston Corners section, you reference back to that. If you say, where's the section? You say the primary objective of the project, as previously stated, is to improve wireless coverage along the 22 corridor. And it's just an inconsistency between what was quoted above and what you're saying here. And the reason that I find it important is that it's just very clear that this is not providing coverage throughout the town of Ankrum. It's actually providing coverage to a limited part of Ankrum and actually the neighboring Dutchess County across it. And I just think that you might want to look at that wording and just acknowledge that it is not throughout the town of Ankrum.
And on that, consider the quote from my applicant, to clarify what we decided.
I'm sorry?
Can I respond to this time? Because here it's a quote from my applicant, I can clarify what they mean by it. I think there's miscommunication.
It could be a wording issue, but it just to me creates a.
We can clarify it on the record. So the point of the provide coverage throughout the town of Ankrum is we showed coverage throughout the town of Ankrum in with the existing coverage sites, and this was the gap in coverage. So we're trying to fill the gap in coverage, and the primary goal is to not leave gaps in coverage within Ankrum. You're correct. This one site doesn't cover the whole town of Ankrum, but it's filling in the gap that's in the town of Ankrum and connects to the other sites that are servicing Ankrum. So we could try to expand on that, maybe.
Well, I think Cityscape and could probably expand on that, how they write it. They just kind of didn't mention it at all when they got to the second part. And I just felt like that could leave a potential misunderstanding.
That's fine. It's just because it was quoting my client. I just wanted to clarify what we meant by that. That you are correct. This doesn't cover the whole town, but it's part of the goal to cover the whole town.
Right.
Yeah, under 3 though, in the second paragraph, it's important to recognize the Boston Corners area is not the primary service objective of this. It goes further to discuss.
It wasn't really the Boston Corners part. It's just that they started out by restating the primary objective.
It sounds like they're providing it for the whole
paragraph,
town.
like second sentence. And I just wanted them to, they could restate that differently.
Okay.
And fix it. It's not a major point, but you might as well get it and fix it now.
Okay, anything else from the board before we go to the public? Okay, did we open the public hearing?
Nope.
Can we get a motion to open the public, reopen the public hearing?
Make a motion to reopen the public hearing for Homeland Towers.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Go ahead. You've been waiting, I know.
For Davis, 44 Church Street, White Plains, New York, 10601. Hopefully everybody on the board got my letter. So I represent Anthony and the Elise Thomas Family Limited Partnership. That's right across the street from Route 22, nearly 150 feet away from where this tower is going to be. The tower is only 115 feet away from Route 22. I assume there's some sort of easement area, then you cross the road, and my client is directly on Route 22. Something has fallen through the cracks here. So let me just take a step back. I'm going to telecommunication that specifically state in statute that it preserves local zoning as to the placement and the construction of the wireless service facility. So you guys have all the power with regard to that. The Second Circuit, and there's an Oyster Bay case, 166 F3rd 490, 1999, and a White Plains case, I believe it's on the point against White Plains, 430 F3rd 529, 2005. The Second Circuit was the federal Board of Appeals, which covers all of New York State as well as Vermont. And what that case says is that this board can reject the application of the cell tower based on aesthetics. And the test is a very minimum. All that the board has to show is that what was presented to it is a little bit more than what is called a mere scintilla of evidence. And I submit to this board many expert reports that have been submitted, Cityscape, George James, Nan Stolzenberg, and even, you know, from the advisory council, that it all demonstrates that if this tower is built right on Route 22, it is going to destroy the scenic overlay zone, which the town board said is basically the gem, and it's one of the key assets of this community. Now, one thing that has sort of fallen through the cracks, and I spoke to Nan Stolzenberg about this, is that under the zoning code, you cannot have two principal uses on one lot. So the applicant is going to have to address that. Now, what I would suggest is the applicant's going to have to come in for a subdivision, demonstrate that they could meet and have it on a separate lot, or that they're going to have to remove all the farm structures. But you can't have a farm and a telecommunications facility on the same lot, and that's right in your code, and it's set forth at page 1 of my letter. And I submit to this board, that is not a prohibition on this applicant. The applicant can make it happen. So nobody is saying that he can't do it. Then there's the issue of the fall zone. The setback of the tower has to be at least the height of the tower, which is 100 feet. But that, what the code says, that this board has the discretion to make it more. So the code says all proposed telecommunication towers and related facilities shall be set back from abutting structures, parcels, and street lines of distance sufficient to substantially contain in sight all icefall or debris from a tower failure and to preserve the privacy of any adjoining property. I submit that this applicant has not done that. That they have not shown that if there's a heavy wind or if anything comes, that it's not going to fly to my client's property across the street or to any motorist on Route 22 or any neighboring property. That has to be done. So with regarding secret, they haven't, the secret record, you must continue. You have to look at the impact on my client, and from my client across the street, that family will have a direct view of that town. So they have not addressed, you know, my client at all, and it's just across the street. And my client's property, their address is at 6575 Route 22, and the applicant is at 6534 Route 22. Only 150 feet away. And when you look at the Matt Allen Saratoga Associates study, you would think that my clients didn't exist. So the record is not complete for this board to make any determination. The applicant ignores many of the regulations. They have to explain in detail the proposed method of effectively screening. I don't see how they've done that. Section 5B.4 of the telecommunications regulations states, to the maximum extent practicable, all towers should be placed in heavily wooded areas on the site. How come that's not happening here? If you look to the right on the site plan, there is a heavily wooded area, and they have not explained why they can't build in that area. To the right, going towards the border between Dutchess and Columbia County on the site plan. So it's 150.
Past the barn?
Well,
There's only one group of trees from the barn north that they're in.
no, I'm talking about going east.
East is a field.
East is into the field.
There's no wooded area on there. It seems to be when
It's
you're looking at the
farm
site plan.
Farm field for the most part.
Just field.
Hmm.
Well, they should still be looking at, in place in heavily wooded areas. I don't really understand. The applicant also has to have a statement that they're going to minimize the visual intrusiveness. Now, when you look at the scenic corridor overlay zone, it talks about it was enacted to preserve the scenic beauty along State Route 22 in the Harlem Valley, the enjoyment of residents, commuters, recreational users, and tourists. Once that tower is up, the whole purpose of that overlay zone. Because it's not preserving the beauty, having a tower right on top of the road. Why does it have to be, 115 feet of Route 22? And right in the overlay zone, it talks about camouflage. And the applicant refuses to camouflage the tower. The town and from advisory council pointed out that they're not camouflage monopoles that you stick out in the clear field. Determined that it's completely out of character in the environment. Homeland Towers has made no effort to blend in with the green fields. Cityscape, in their August 27th report, said that the instant location was the only viable location for the site. And I don't really see anything in their record where the applicant Homeland Towers has demonstrated that is the only viable candidate to locate cell tower. And from a design standpoint, Cityscape has said that they should consider least visually obtrusive options. In Stolzenberg, the town's urban planner says the SCOS requires camouflage of towers. This aspect should be a consideration in the review of the view shed impacts, balloon test, and photo simulation. Dan Stolzenberg further says, I note that the town of Akron must draw its own conclusions about visibility, especially since the site is within the SCOS and of special importance to the town, articulated in the town's comprehensive plan, natural resource protection plan, and land use regulations. And George James, the visual expert, said, considering the rural nature of this area, and the siting of the tower below the ridgeline from eastern viewpoint, this site might be appropriate for alternative designs that lessen the visual impact of the proposal. Alternative designs are not mentioned in the application material, but they are done in visually sensitive areas. Town expert James stated this site that's really appropriate for camouflaging with the neighboring silo or perhaps a lattice tower design, which due to its visually coarse nature, help camouflage the tower and use the rail trail. Now, SECRA, which has been mentioned here, is a very low threshold to have an environmental impact statement. All that there must be is the potential, merely the potential, for at least one significant adverse environmental impact. And if you do a negative declaration, that means that there will not even be an adverse environmental impact. On the record before this board, I don't know how the board can make that determination. They have not considered my client across the street. They have not considered the full expert reports that have been submitted to you. And based upon the fact that the application could be turned down merely on aesthetics, and the reports demonstrate that it's more than the mere scintilla of substantial evidence. I further point out that the telecommunications laws were enacted in 2011. In technology, 15 years, it's like going back to the Industrial Revolution. And I submit to you that perhaps the board should enact a moratorium to bring its regulations up to date. Because up until now, there hasn't been, I believe that this is one of the first carriers since the 2011 law, and it's really testing it. So I throw that out to the board, that the town board should enact a moratorium and you should update your regulations. Now, attached to my letter is the site plan of C1 and C2. And it shows how it's the last 2 pages of the letter. And it shows how close my client's property is to where the tower is. So I submit to the board that the applicant should really think about locating it in a different place. Because it's right smack in the face of my client. And the tower, just the tower in and of itself, only 150 feet away from my client's property. So I ask that you give in consideration my letter in that when you to rethink secret based upon this, and I would submit that you would have to do a positive declaration requiring an EIS, and that when you get to the site plan, that the application should be turned down unless the applicant starts complying, and furthermore, you can't allow the application to further proceed because the applicant is seeking to have 2 principal uses on 1 lot. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Hi, my name's Tom Ciano and I live in Ankrum and I'm on the Conservation Advisory Committee. I just have a brief statement that I'm going to read, which in some ways piggybacks off of that gentleman's. So the Conservation Advisory Committee was created by the town to advise it regarding issues of environmental concern. The CAC has raised concerns, especially in its letter to the planning board dated December 4th, 2025, which stated that the cell tower application does not meet the requirements of the town telecommunications law and the scenic corridor law that were drafted to protect the environment, particularly the scenic environment of a restricted, confined scenic corridor zone. Among those laws is the requirement that any cell tower in the scenic corridor must be camouflaged to blend into the surrounding natural environment. This law does not merely prohibit cell towers that are insufficiently camouflaged so as to affect a significant adverse visual impact, but rather expressly prohibits any cell tower of any height that is not camouflaged to blend into the surrounding natural environment. This legislation reflects the town's decision not to allow cell towers in the scenic corridor of any height that were not camouflaged to blend into the surrounding natural environment. This law does not contain the word significant as a criterion for judging the extent of the camouflage, but rather sets out as the criterion simply whether or not the proposed tower is camouflaged to blend into the surrounding environment. I believe a reasonable person could view this proposed tower as being adequately camouflaged, as it is a 100-foot round pole with lattice and antennae on the top, proposed to be located in a field where it is surrounded by few structures and is more than twice as tall as the closest structure, the silo, which is in a field. So therefore, this is considered to be unconcealed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Please speak a little louder into the microphone. Nobody can hear you.
Just a quick question on, you mentioned a new cityscape report was submitted. I didn't see it. What kind of know it's in a few days?
Just came today. Just came hours ago.
Okay, so will we be able to get access?
Yes,
to that?
absolutely. If it's not already up.
I didn't mean to rush. Thank you. Thank you for your time as always. Short voice. So a quick caveat before I make my first points. We'll be talking about the coverage maps. And whenever the coverage maps forward, the from residents who are arriving, there's no longer this minutes, that's the Route 22 that we're talking about, and have maintained goals. But in a way of help Homeland by looking at these maps that they've submitted and taking them at face value. I printed out the material that is in the October document. I just put exactly as the maps are represented, one next to each other, showing the same gap on Route 22, and then the roof and tower heights on Route 22, and coverage that they create at 3 heights. So when it says 95 feet, it's talking about the center line of the antenna, so that's talking about the 100-foot.
Excuse me, I got a question. Is that the PowerPoint that was sent to us?
Yes.
Would you like this up on Zoom?
Sure, if you're able to. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that would don't work. Thank you. Because mandates that the minimum tower height should be built. That's what I said. And land has said many times, and it was just mentioned right now, that the tower aims to close this gap on Route 22. As you can see, their own map show that either that 8-foot tower or either the 6-foot tower would do this. There again, their own map shows that the gap is filled with an 80-foot and 60-foot tower. In fact, you can see that 80 feet is essentially identical to 100 feet. And you can see that if another carrier were to come along, which of course we know is Atlantic, but just 70 feet and 60 feet will also create insufficient coverage. Or, as you know, 20 feet can be added and you would be at the 100 foot. In the just document, these maps come from. Justification for 100 tower, the 100-foot tower doesn't talk about coverage on Route 20. It's the goal of the tower. In fact, it talks about an incorrectly labeled, an empty field, and a small part of Mr. Bennett's that is in Northeast. Again, it doesn't talk about coverage on Route 22. It says nothing about that improved coverage. If they do believe there is a benefit in covering in this gap, then they should tell you how many and exactly what quality there will be, so that you're able to make an informed technical trade-off of tower height, of course, feedback does in the valley, and the technical quality of what you get from the tower. Right now, there is zero adjustment. Corporate convenience for and adding dollars to the pockets of the company and not for the residents. The second point on it very briefly is just to highlight precedent that could be set for this power. At the last public hearing, they plan to build more towers again. He said, we will need more towers, you'll be coming back. If you allow this tower, you will set a precedent saying, yes, not only that tower, but yes, in a scenic overlay, without trading off the technical benefits of what we're trying to fill, which is on Route 22. And you will be getting more requests for towers, and they will hold this as your precedent and more. Yeah.
Anyone else?
We've got somebody in the lane.
Okay. Let them in.
We gotta drop the map.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi, it's Ken Beneke calling at Willowbrook Farms. I'm actually the property owner. I'm sorry I couldn't make the meeting tonight. In regards to the, kind of in a response to the lawyer from the property owner across the street, it seems kind of odd that, the land was just purchased, a few years back, and this whole case has been going on for, almost 20 years now. So I think, when a person's gonna buy property, they should find out what, potential stuff is around your land before you buy the property, one. And the land that they're talking about, there's not even a house on it. It was just a cow pasture that they purchased. And it was back in our farm in the day, and given to the Conservancy, and the Conservancy recently sold it. So there's only one house spot that's allowed on that property, and that's probably what they're talking about. But just so the board would understand that part of it. And then also everybody's worried about the aesthetics of it. Um, like I said in my first statement when I was at the first meeting, that if it saves one life in the valley, that should be just looked aside, of the aesthetics about the cell tower. But the other thing too is the barn. If he's worried about if we're going to have cattle there at all again, we're just going to have a cow pasture there, and that can coexist with the cell tower. The barn, as soon as I have enough money to do it, we're going to take the barn down, so it won't even be there. And I guess that's it. That's all I had to say. If anybody had any questions, I could answer them.
You say this parcel that we're talking about across the street was part of the Conservancy property?
Correct. It was in our farm to begin with. And then Elizabeth, my uncle willed it in his will, in my grandfather's will. And then Elizabeth Gilmore bought it from my uncle, George Beneke. And then she donated it to the Conservancy. And then the Conservancy sold it to my brother-in-law. And then my brother-in-law sold it to this new owner that the lawyer's speaking about now.
Do you have any recollection of the date? Because I'd like to look at that map and see where the house site is actually.
It's I believe it's on the south part of that property. But the Columbia Land Conservancy should have that in all their stipulation when they sold it.
Well, if that land was in Ankrum, we should have that map in our file.
Right, yep.
Okay. All right. If you think of the year, if you could let Sarah know, that would be great. It'd be easier to find.
Yeah, I know the Conservancy had it, I would say at least 7 years ago.
Okay.
And then my brother-in-law had it for a few years, Lynn Main. And then it went to, and then Anthony bought it.
Yeah, Wesley may have that map also. He usually does their work, come to think of it.
Right.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Anything else? Anyone else in the audience?
One other person.
Okay. Let them in.
Hi, it's Mike Thoyer. I live on White House Crossing Road. First, I just wanted to point out, I think Sandra said it, the audio wasn't very good, but that cityscape letter is not in the Dropbox. I'm sure you're going to put it in there. I just want to reserve the right to review that and comment on that in the future. I heard Mr. Beneke, in his history with the property, and I have great respect for my neighbor nearby. But I just want to point out that the application was filed in 2024. I understand maybe there was talk of a tower for a long time, but this has not been going on for 20 years. This just started a year and a half ago. And on the point of savings lives, I agree that's important. And there is E911 in the area. It works on AT&T. There is a national network for first responders. It's called FirstNet. That's run by AT&T. That works in the area. That's not on Verizon. So there is an appropriate safety net there. Secondly, I just want to address a point I heard at the last meeting, the CEQA meeting. I know one board member expressed a view that no one is not going to come to Ankrum because of the tower. I'm not sure what analysis that was based on, but I can guarantee it's not accurate. I can say that because my family has planned on retiring in the area. And if that tower is there, we are going to reconsider that. If there's a 100-foot tower nearby, we will not be retiring in the area. And so it's not lost. That has an economic impact. That has an impact on the local contractors we work with. It has an impact on the local shops and the restaurants we frequent, including Mr. Benecke's farm stand. So there is a real economic impact there, and I just want to make sure that's not lost. Finally, I just wanted to make a point about, Cityscape and the record. I haven't read their new report, but I did compare their initial report to the board's consultant RFP. This is the information you said you need on the record, and you never received any of the following. You asked them to reproduce and audit Verizon's propagation and capacity models. They didn't do that. They just simply referenced Homeland's application in their report. You asked them to quantify uncovered demand, including road miles and critical facilities lacking reliable service. I don't see that anywhere. You asked them to review and identify other site options. There is no reference to that in their report. I know they have spoken to it on occasion, but there's no reference. There's no analysis on it. You asked them to develop a least intrusive means matrix of 3 or more feasible alternatives. Again, not there. You asked them to field verify the analysis and the RF predictions. And again, that's not there. There's no drive test data. There's no other data. They could have asked for it. They never did. And just lastly, and again, thank you for the time. I know Mr. Kenny usually has a very thoughtful response at the end of these. I do find that they tend to be somewhat misleading at times, and I'd very much appreciate the opportunity to respond to his response if he has one. Thank you very much.
I just wanted to clarify something. The application, what I understand, actually, I don't know if it was an 8 or my client, the Anthony partnership, what property that's described in the letter, February 27, 2023, that was from Haiti, Benecke, was the person who sold. So if they were selling something, then they committed a fraud on my client. If they knew something that they didn't tell him. But in all events, the owner of the farm across the street where the tower is going to be, in which he wants to have 2 principal uses, and you can't just have a big pasture of animals grazing next to a cell tower. That's a disaster. I mean, that is just crazy.
The compound is fenced where these,
but
cows can't get in.
You can't have 2 principal uses on the lot. That's what the code says.
We understand your
Right,
comment.
and that was never considered before.
We're reviewing it. You brought it to the board's attention, and we were reviewing it very seriously.
I just wanted to make it clear. So my guy bought the property in 23. The application came in approximately over a year.
Who bought what when really, I don't think makes a difference to this board. We're not accusing anybody of anything. Anybody else?
Nothing else.
Okay. David, do you want to respond? Oh, wait a minute. You're always last. You're always last.
Hi, Linda again. And I just have to say that, I'm not happy with the proposal due to the location. And when I look at Copac and I look at Hillsdale, and they are putting in densely wooded areas, not blatantly obvious on the edge of the farmland. So that's what I look at when I come back from Poughkeepsie. First thing I see as I'm going to Ankrum is that album. And that just kind of makes me sad after being here for 60 years. I'm not a newcomer, I'm born in Columbia County, raised in Columbia County, and moved there over 60 years ago. So, you know, it's sad for me to see that change because it is a scenic, beautiful valley. And when you look past the trees and see that beautiful view, but now this might disrupt that. And then from the house, I'll mention that, but anyway. And the fact that it is serving Boston Corner. And I also look at the dead zone as being a half mile north of Boston Corner, right up to Under Mountain Road. Because that's really dead. At least south of White House Crossing Road, there's an intermittent connection. And that's all I'm saying. And thank you for your patience and appreciate you hearing me out. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else?
Nope.
Okay, yeah, David.
I believe we respond to all these comments. Most of these comments are the same comments from prior meetings. But we'll take them into consideration and provide a written response before the next meeting for any of the comments that we feel need another response.
Let me say this. If a separate lot is required, if that's the determination, you could turn your lease lines into property lines, given permission from the landowner, obviously. We will waive any health department requirements if the map states that this is for the purpose of a cell tower and a cell tower. So creating a lot will be as simple as it could possibly be.
Sure, we can review that with our client. We've written a response on this. We feel like that was a requirement that's for the zoning code and that, you know, the tower, the local law for the wireless was amended the zoning code, and the local law also speaks to co-location on existing structures. So it speaks to combining uses and having two principal uses on one lot. So we feel that that was amended out of the local law for wireless, and doesn't apply to this. But we can take in a review of that, and if there's things that we need to do with the application to comply with the law, we will absolutely do so. We absolutely are in the goal to comply with that law.
I just, as a side point, we have other applications may have the same problem.
Yeah, our main concern with that would be more of you know, some of the other code requirements regarding property size and setbacks and how that might be impacted with a smaller parcel, but we can review that, and there might be other ways
It
to.
would be an uninhabitable site.
Understood. And we will try to make.
If the tower went away, the owner could erase the lines and.
We can discuss that. We'll keep that off the table.
Okay, I just want to throw that out there because if that's what it comes down to, for us to proceed, then.
We thank you for your suggestion, and we'll review it and discuss with your council as well.
Anything else? Not the second. So then we're looking at May 7th. That. May 7th is our next meeting after April, right? Okay. So John's recommending that we continue the public hearing on this application at our May 7th meeting. Can I get a motion for that effect?
Make a motion to continue the Homeland Power public hearing on May 7th.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a question about the gentleman who spoke about our cityscape report. And, you know, I'm looking at our RFP and there is quite a bunch of stuff here that I don't see, as he pointed out in our report. Field verification, audit the propagation and capacity models, quantify uncovered demand, site alternatives. There are some things that we put out there that, unless I'm missing them, are not in the cityscape report. So is there anybody still from cityscape that can address that?
Hi. It's Elizabeth with Cityscape. We did not respond to your RFP. We submitted a scope of service, and that is what we were hired upon. We were told that, there were not, responses to the RFP and that they chose us based on our scope of service. So we did not respond to the RFP. We even said there were things within the RFP that we were not going to be able to do.
There was one response to that RFP, which we
Right.
found not effective, and we refused it.
Right.
So
All right, thank you.
Stay with the other proposal. Okay, so I guess we're done this evening. Did I get a motion to adjourn?
Mike Thor just,
Excuse me?
Mike Thor just want to say something.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity again. I just want to point out what I think I just heard was Cityscape wrote their own scope and you accepted that scope. I think the point here is you identified certain information you needed for the record to make this decision, and you don't have that information. That's what I'm trying to get at here. So I don't know how you make a decision without that record, but you identified what you needed and you don't have it. And I think Cityscape just confirmed you don't have it. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.